Because some people mistook us for a bank and complained, corporate changed the policy on $50 and $100s. Despite the big, bold sign written in such a way that even the North Sentinelese could understand it, almost everyone with $50s and $100s thinks they don't need no stinking bank and will just go to us to get that big bill broken down. Well, it keeps wiping out our tills when they raise a fuss, and eventually, they called corporate. Their response was to have us rescind the policy and carry more money in the tills. Obviously, they have never worked a till in their lives, otherwise they would know why we don't carry disgusting amounts of money in the register, but they didn't tell us we needed $20s and $10s, so we decide to start some malicious compliance. We go to the bank and their mouths twist into a grin like that of a midnight Lycan rock when we tell them we get dozens of $5s and $1s. And wait. First ducker walks in and smugly places down a $100. His change is $95. Here we go. I start singing the Schoolhouse Rock song. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. He gets $19 5s. He asks where the $20s are and I tell him we are out. People keep paying with $50s and $100s and wipe out the $10s and $20s. Second ducker comes in and pays for a 50-cent cookie with a $50. When he gets 9 5s, he says he wanted 20s. I inform him that he could always go to a bank. This continues for 4 more duckers. Take that.
Now to the comments. Yes, let the hate flow through you.
And transfer it to the customer via a huge wad of dirty small bills.
New bills are worse. They stick together, and the ink setting agent gets all over your hands. It ducking sucks handling new bills. I work at a gas station at the moment, happens all the time. I always drop all my 20s in the safe, so I have to give people that buy a coffee and cigs with 105s and 1s. Some dude was furious this morning looking over my till and all the 5s and 1s are rolled up because they are from a change machine that I put the 100 inches. Said he wanted his 100 back instead to pay with a smaller bill he had, but had already put it in the machine, so there was no getting it back.
At the gas station I work at, we can literally get fired for having anything bigger than a 10 in the drawer. The safe doesn't have anything bigger than 5s, other than the drops only the manager can access. People will buy a fountain drink and pay with 100 and have the nerve to complain about getting a bunch of 5s.
Sorry, the safe is on a time delay. It'll be a half hour before I have enough 5s to give you change. We had people bring in lottery tickets when I worked at a gas station, as most gas stations do. We were only supposed to cash lotto up to $50 because our registers would lock up with over 150 and require us to drop cash into the safe, and we couldn't drop money from the safe without putting money in. I'd just ask customers how much they won beforehand and never had any problems with that. One guy comes in with a winner on a slow day. Before I scan the ticket, I tell him that I'm low on cash because it's been slow, so if this is a big winner, I can't cash it. He says nah, it's not a big one. I scan it and he won $100. He busted out laughing. Once you scan a lotto ticket for redemption, it's registered as already redeemed, so he couldn't take it anywhere else. I only had $80, so he had to stick around until I got the other $70 in the register to give him. He ended up waiting around for half an hour, and buying more lotto to bring him up to 100 cause no one came in that time. I felt kind of bad, but the dude lied and my hands were tied.
He laughed afterwards. There went any sympathy in my mind.
Could have been a nervous laugh too. When I've had to deal with this, the jerks that come with the $100 bill get a $50 and a bunch of singles. All I got, sorry.
No problem, I'm heading to the strip club anyway.
That would be really funny to hear, since the only place I deal with this is at high school track meets when I volunteer at the concession stand. Reminds me of the time I had an assistant store manager ask a customer, does the sign outside say Bank and Trust? Customer claimed if he came in at 6 a.m. with a payroll check we were required to cash it for him. Assistant manager sent him on his way a little better educated.
Maybe. If he were on your payroll and gave advance notice that he wanted to, I've done it once or twice working as temp help.
Heck, even when I worked someplace that had the ability to cash employee checks we had to wait until at least lunchtime. I always ask nicely in advance when paying with a 50 or 100, on an amount less than 50% of the bill value. It seems to go a long way that you know you're being a pain. And I try to avoid it, of course. Now when a place points at their no 100 sign and I'm paying a bill of $98.50 for a big group lunch purchase at a fast food place, I have very little tolerance for pedantic rule following. This only happened once, by a new trainee. It worked out.
That is because you are not a rat bastard.
I read this in the classic mob boss voice. People do this shit at a school book fair. Nah homie, I ain't got 20s but I do have $20 in nickels and dimes that a second grader paid me in.
Hey now. I didn't have any money to give my little one for the book fair the first time this year. She decided to bring in a bag of change. Mostly pennies. I felt like scum not being able to give her any cash to spend, but dang, my so was out of work and all my money was going to bills and food.
Hey, that's okay by me. Sure, it's time consuming to count all their little baggies of change, but usually the teachers and assistants try to count it with the beforehand, so I know exactly how much they have. It's a good learning experience for them, although it can be challenging to explain added tax to the little ones, or why a bag full of coins today I learned L isn't enough to buy the overpriced Lego book. I like you. You done good. Cookie guy should also get just nickels and pennies as his coin change in addition to his 4 singles and 9 $5 bills. Sorry, we're out of quarter and dimes. Here are 10 nickels.
Sorry, out of dimes. Here's 100 pennies.
Sorry, out of bills. Here's 99 rolls of pennies. Need a hand? Was the checkout arranged so they couldn't see in the register, I take it? Would have been awkward if they could see in and see the 20s.
OP replied. That gave us the idea.
It's even more satisfying in Canada, because you hold up this lovely bank-wrapped $25 or $50 roll of coins, look them straight in the eye, break it open, and start counting out individual coins to pour into their hand. God, I hated this when my parents owned a corner store. Oh, why don't you have the change for it? Because we don't store that much change. Well, why not? Because I don't want to get robbed, you daft cunt.
But why not?
As a former cashier, this is awesome. Luckily, the place I worked the longest let us refuse these people. They cared more about keeping the amount of cash being left in the drawer small, so I could just turn them away. Also, a lot of people would come in and buy a pack of gum or something hoping to get cash back, without asking if we did that, and just stare at the card terminal confused while I hand them their receipt. Then they would ask if we did cash back. Nope, enjoy your gum and have a nice day.
It's extra ridiculous too, because there are certain places that actually like getting the $100s so they can break their $20s down for an easier counted deposit. Only really high volume and high rate of cash payment places, like gas stations, I always ask rather than expect them to do it, and they always have this same response that they actually don't mind. Having worked as a manager at a high volume low cash place, I know how obnoxious it is to have the register cleaned out.
As a gas station cashier for quite some time, I told people on the reg that they'd have to wait up to 15 minutes if they wanted their $100 broken. If I want to get a reputation for having hundreds of dollars in my drawer at all times, I'll just save the time and stick the gun in my own face. Use all pennies next time. After you take a good 5 minutes holding the bill to the light looking for the watermark, and an extra 30 seconds using a counterfeit detection marker.
I'll have to send this to the lab, for the boys to verify. You'll get your change in 4 to 6 weeks.
A grin like that of a midnight lichen rock, oh shit. This right here is full of malice. I love it. I'd be more worried people are using your location to wash counterfeit bills, as people grossly overpaying is a red flag for AP/LP agents. Just my $96.75. Malicious compliance.
Malicious to the compliance degree.
To the compliant degree. I actually value $5 bills over the equivalent value in larger bills for this reason: easier to break down. If I'm going to a big retailer with loads of money, I pay in 50s, if I go to a small mom and pop shop I pay in 20s, and so on. And I collect all the dollar ones in my safe because strip club, I'm up to almost $500 in ones. Fun to look at.
Don't worry, one day you'll get to go.
They didn't say they were a customer.